quiet but incredibly important battle is being waged against the ever-present threat of wildfire. But this isn't just about saving trees. No, this is about protecting a piece of critical, aging infrastructure that thousands and thousands of people rely on for their daily survival. And that quote you just saw, that's from Greg Jones, the Assistant General Manager of the Nevada Irrigation District, or NID for short. And believe me, he is not exaggerating one bit. We're talking about a potential catastrophe here, a real domino effect, where losing this one piece of infrastructure could knock out everything from tap water to the power grid. And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? When a lifeline for an entire region is this vulnerable, what's the plan? I mean, how do you even begin to defend something so essential from a force as unpredictable as wildfire? All right, so before we get into the solution, we've got to really wrap our heads around the threat itself. And in this case, we're looking at a very specific and very, very flammable target. You see, the South Yuba Canal is this massive system, but its biggest weak spot, its Achilles heel, is a single 2.5-mile section. It's an elevated wooden flume. Just think of it like a wooden aqueduct, this amazing piece of historic engineering that's still being used today. The problem, this timber structure runs directly through an area with an extremely high fire risk. It's basically a fuse just waiting for a spark. So we know the flume is at risk, but who would actually feel the pain if it were lost? Let's break down just how many people and services depend on this one structure, because honestly, the numbers are pretty staggering. Well, for starters, it begins with the water coming out of your tap. Over 18,000 homes and businesses get their clean, treated drinking water from this system. We're talking about the water for schools, for hospitals, for families, every single day. And it doesn't stop there. The dependency ripples out to the land itself. You've got over 3,000 agricultural customers, local farms, ranches that rely on that very same water for their crops and their livestock. It's the foundation of the whole local economy. But here's the real choke point. All of that water, for both people and for agriculture, has to flow through this canal to feed 4 separate water treatment plants. If that wooden flume fails, it's not just a disruption. All 4 plants are cut off from their only source. And when you zoom out, you see the whole picture. We're talking about entire communities: Nevada City, Grass Valley, Penn Valley, and a bunch more. The water also spins turbines to generate hydroelectric power. But here's the most critical part, the part that's just wild. It supplies the Grass Valley Airport and Air Attack Base, the very facility that launches aircraft to fight wildfires. The irony is just painful. A fire could literally destroy the infrastructure needed to fight that very fire. So, okay, the threat is clear, the stakes are incredibly high. Which brings us to the solution, the South Yuba Canal Wildfire Defense Project. At its core, it's a plan to build a fire-resistant shield around this vital artery. Now, to really get this plan, you need to know about something called ladder fuels. They are the real villain in this story. Think of them as the smaller trees and undergrowth that act like rungs on a ladder. They let a small fire on the ground climb right up into the treetops, where it just explodes into an uncontrollable blaze. These ladder fuels are the #1 target. And the plan itself is really methodical and smart. First, they go after those ladder fuels. Next, they identify and take out any of those big hazard trees that are tall enough to fall and crush the flume. Then, they create a 100-foot buffer, what's called a shaded fuel break, on each side of the canal. And finally, all that stuff they cleared out gets disposed of responsibly. And getting this done isn't a one-size-fits-all operation. Nope. It's a combination of different strategies across 58 acres. They'll use heavy machinery where they can, but also bring in hand crews for the more delicate work. They'll be felling trees and using these incredible machines called masticators, which literally chew up underbrush into mulch. It's also smart economics. Any good timber gets sold, and the rest goes to a biomass facility to generate clean energy. Of course, a project this ambitious is not cheap. And this is where the story becomes about something really powerful: collaboration. It's a partnership between state and local agencies, all coming together to make this happen. You can see that partnership right here in the funding. Yeah, the bulk of the money, over $600,000, comes from a big state-level CAL FIRE grant. But look at that other bar. The local Nevada Irrigation District is kicking in over $200,000 of their own money. And that local match is so crucial. It shows community buy-in and a shared sense of responsibility. And that big CAL FIRE grant, it isn't just a standalone pot of money. It's actually part of a much bigger statewide initiative called California Climate Investments. The goal of this program is really twofold: protect communities from threats like wildfire while also funding projects that help reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
It's a win-win.
Now, here's the part I think is so powerful. You can draw a straight line from a public vote to actual boots on the ground. Back in November 2024, California voters approved Proposition 4 to fund exactly these kinds of projects. That vote unlocked the money, CAL FIRE distributed it through grants, and now work is actually beginning on the South Yuba Canal. It's democracy in action. So, when you step back and look at this whole thing, what's the big takeaway? I mean, it's about more than just clearing some trees from a 2.5-mile stretch of canal. It's about securing the future for an entire region. At the end of the day, this project is really a model for the future. It's about protecting our aging but absolutely essential infrastructure. It's about safeguarding water, power, and emergency services. It helps raise public awareness about fire risk and makes the whole community more resilient in the face of climate change. And maybe most importantly, it's a proactive approach to safety, not a reactive one. It's about getting ahead of the disaster before it strikes.